dude.
All right, how you doing, everybody? This is once again the Prepper Trifecta. Thanks for tuning in. We've got Morgan from Rogue Preparedness once again, and Che from Prepper Logic, who's getting a beer right now, so he'll be here in just a second. Yeah, where's he at? No, his janky Canadian internet has not jacked up yet. He's just getting a beer. So I'm going to pop out the chat here as usual. Turn off the audio so I can see what you guys are saying. And as we always say, if you have a question, try to make it all caps, or even better, do a super chat so we're sure to see it, because the discussions have gotten really lively in the chat, which is awesome, but it does make it harder for us to see what anybody's saying in there when we get our own lively discussions going. So welcome, welcome, welcome. The main topic for today's trifecta is going to be the videos that we all made this past week on the 5 things to do before the preppers need to do before the election. And we can talk about more things than just 5 too during we're talking about what we had similar, what we had different. So how you guys doing?
Good.
Cool. Thanks for joining me once again. And I was just talking to the guys before our video that I have seen a lot of videos crop up in the past week on this exact same topic. So I have a suspicion that a lot of people out there are watching our live streams. Seems to be a common topic over the past week. And yeah, yes, it is an auspicious timing with the RBG dying and whatnot, but still curious that all these videos are just popping up.
I won't name names, but here's the title of the video. We discussed this. We were just talking about this off air. First and foremost, Morgan, thanks. Awesome to join us again. I really appreciate it. And really enjoy your perspective on things. And Morgan from Rogue Preparedness. She's got a video on this as well.
I'm just kidding.
What's that? Sorry.
Or Megan, it's fine. Whatever. No,
right.
Yeah. So at the end of my video for the top 5 things to do pre-election, I called Morgan Megan, guys. But we did mention this. This was your idea, Eric. We mentioned this last week in the last Prepper Trifecta, and it was no real official title, but it was top 5 things to do. So Morgan and you and I came up with our video Saturday night. But here's the title of one that came out on Friday night: 5 things you need to do before the U.S. election. So.
It's a hot topic right now for sure. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right, and like I was just saying, we would definitely encourage anyone to make their own videos and discussions on the stuff that we talk about. But if you've got the idea from us, go ahead and say, hey, this is where I got the idea.
Yeah,
check out
I think so. Yeah, good. But anyways, credit where credit is due, I think. But you know what? In some ways, it's kind of cool, flattering, and it would be neat to get, instead of somebody being isolated and just talking about their own thing,
there is everyone talking about that. Yeah,
everybody talking about. We got different answers with our videos, and I expected that too. There's just so many different directions we could have spun. What are the top 5 things we could have done? And the way I approached it was, well, we're talking. It's revolving around the election specifically, then it's going to be stuff about isolation, potential riots, and potential second wave and things of that nature. So what did you think of the topic, Morgan? Interesting or?
Yeah, I mean, to narrow it down to 5 things, it's a little hard, there's so many things, but what I really liked about all of us doing it is that we all had a little something different to say about it. And so, that's, like you were saying, that's how it is with these kind of, collaborative topics. We all have something different to say. And so, but yeah, so the way that I thought of it was that kind of like what you were saying is, with Ruth Bader passing away, it has made everything a little more spicy. And so the topic really was a lot more poignant at that point that we were actually filming it. And so it kind of makes things a little more geared towards kind of civil unrest a little bit. The elections were crazy to begin with, but now it's just, there's already been riots because of her passing within 24 hours.
Yeah, which is crazy. But that is the interesting thing, is despite our answers all being slightly different, we definitely did all pinpoint on the same things to prepare for, pretty much, which, that's not surprising.
Yeah.
As a Canadian, I'm ignorant to Ruth. Something to do with the judicial system, high up. Maybe you guys can tell me what a person obviously passed away, and Trump is in the position to elect somebody as a replacement, my understanding. But
right,
maybe for the Canadian folks, one of you two can go through what the major dilemma is between the Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, so the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, basically makes a lot of case law by interpreting various laws and other lower court rulings. So by the time it gets to the Supreme Court, whatever they decide on it, that is basically law for potentially decades or longer. They're appointed by the president to life terms. Unless they step down, they're there forever. So the balance of the court is extremely important for major issues like gun rights, all sorts of stuff related to the Constitution, probable cause, whatever. Just how stuff is interpreted makes a big deal. And Trump has already appointed 2 justices to the Supreme Court out of the 9, which is insane for a single president. This would put him at a 3rd, which is just incredibly wild and could shift the balance of the court for generations.
Okay, so is this Kavanaugh as an example is one to that court?
Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, okay. Were both his appointees. And there is nothing specifically preventing him from replacing, especially because the Senate is who confirms the choices. So since that is in Republican control, he could theoretically push a nominee in before the election, which I think he should. And they were already talking, the Democrats were already talking about jamming the courts, getting rid of the filibuster and doing all this stuff. And then as soon as it comes out that now he has the opportunity to put her in or put someone in her spot, she was one of the most liberal judges on the Supreme Court, with the exception of some issues she was actually okay on.
That was my next question. Was she Republican or Democrat?
She was one of the most left, especially when it comes to like gun rights and things like that, which is really, for me, that's what I care about with the Supreme Court, is they have consistently refused to hear cases from lower courts where gun issues have been obviously unconstitutional rulings and things like that when it comes to magazine bans, personal right, self-defense things. So getting someone else in there who is solid on the Second Amendment would be enormous. And but yeah, so he can and has potentially said that he will put someone in where they think you should wait and see what the people decide who should be president, and let whoever wins decide. But
that's really where the some of the real power is creating case law that sets a precedent on all the to all the lower courts. Morgan, what do you think? Out of curiosity, what do you think Trump should do?
Well, the Trump, the president is the president until the president is no longer the president. And so if he, he wasn't elected to be, making decisions for, 3.5 years or something, he's elected to make decisions for those 4 years. And so he isn't still in office, and he still has the ability to do these things. He can still make a pick. Why shouldn't he? And then everybody keeps bringing up what happened to Obama. Well, he should have been able to pick. And, there was they were blocking him from making a pick. And it's like, well, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Obama should have been able to pick. And so should Trump. He's still president. And so he should be able to pick.
Yeah, unless you're saying, because he'll be president until like January or whatever. Yeah. So unless you're saying that for like 6 months or whatever, so like when is it okay to put in? A month ago, 2 months ago, you're saying that the president shouldn't be able to choose their pick for like 15% of their term? You know what I mean? That's stupid.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, but they just know that they're not. The Democrats know that he's not going to pick somebody that they want. Well, okay. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
that's the way it works. And like I said, they were already talking about doing all sorts of stuff to shift it in their favor. Mm-hmm. So, cry me a river. That's what I say.
I mean, go ahead.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, just everybody's so mad at Ruth Bader dying. Why did you have to die under Trump?
It's like how fucked up is that? Right? They're like being more rude and crass about the whole situation, getting like writing that she died. What do you want to do? Live forever?
Yeah. You should have retired under Obama, and then what?
Right.
Was she an older lady, or?
Yeah, she was 87, I believe, and she'd had many health concerns over the past, multiple cancer issues and stuff over the past few years. So it was almost guaranteed that she would not survive the next 4 years. They were just hoping she would make it through the Trump presidency, and then someone else would win, and then she could get replaced then.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, like I said, it's not just a question of a justice being appointed. It's probably the most left justice on the court. So even putting a moderate in there would make a big difference. And if you actually get someone who's conservative, it could make a huge difference.
Interesting.
So they're salty. The Jimmies have been rustled in an epic way. So we'll see and they will continue to be so, especially if you cram someone in there. But that's why we think you should prepare. So let's get into the topics or the things that we said that we should do, because it's funny because I had a few I was writing it all down, trying to figure out how I would categorize it, and I kind of feel like I cheated a little bit, but it makes sense for the context, like I explained in my video, where if I literally had to say 5 individual specific things that you should do, most of them would be just basic preps, like food, water, if I was going to do those separately. But being that our audience is mostly preppers and that would be a fairly boring video, I kind of lumped that all together and said, so I could talk about other more specific things. But I think all of us would have said that anyway. If you literally could only choose 5 things, they all would have been the basic stuff. Yeah, so I just said, square away your basic preps as my one. But I was like, I'll take up at least one spot doing it, but I'm going to lump it all together.
And that made sense. And that's Morgan sort of alluded to that as well. I think it was your second way, was just get your basics under your belt.
Food and water, your basics. You got to keep doing that no matter what.
Right. Yeah. That's for everything anyway. So might as well get it squared away.
I think the consensus, or at least the feeling I got from the both of you, is there's a really good probability that some sort of civil unrest is, it's obvious. It's happening now. I was going to say imminent, but it's already sort of happening.
It's just a question of how bad it's going to get.
Yeah, the severity, how wild and crazy things are going to get in the U.S. And I can't imagine what will happen on the night of, if Trump wins. And you've got all these lefties that are just, they're going to explode. I can't imagine. It's going to be very entertaining.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. One thing I will say, because someone had mentioned on Twitter, there's a misconception, because they're like, oh, if the court is 4-4, then there could potentially be a tie, so that the Supreme Court would like, if it's a tie in the Electoral College, then the Supreme Court will have to decide. I'm like, well, that's not actually how it works. If there is a tie in the Electoral College on the night of the election, it goes to the House, but it doesn't go to a simple House vote. Each state gets one vote based on its electorates. For all the congressmen in that state vote, and whichever the majority is, that state gets that one vote. So if all of them, like if 5 more in one state voted for Biden, that state gets one vote for Biden, and then that combined vote of all the states getting one vote then determines who gets the win. So the Supreme Court would have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I saw that floating around a lot, and I was kind of confused where people were getting that.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that started.
I don't know.
But one thing I will say that I was going to put as an honorable mention on my video, but my video was already 20 minutes, so I just left it out, is I had specifically written down and thought of what you mentioned, Shay, about having like Biden or whatever the alternative to your area or your beliefs, or maybe even just some of each in case you needed to pass through undetected, if it gets really wild and you're like, go Biden, fuck Trump, if they're burning houses in your neighborhood that had and you can choose to make that a hill to die on if you want. If you have a Trump sign in your yard and you see that they're going, like a mob of 100 people burning every house that has a Trump sign in front of it, you can choose to either say like, you know what, we're going to fight it out, or you can choose to try and go undetected. And
which was that was my angle. That was my, like, you can't beat him, join him sort of thing. And that's why I'm not too sure if Morgan watched my video or not, but it was talking about the call it the female hats. I say PG-13 until Eric starts swearing. So
sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's your channel. But that was my strategy. It's exactly that would be the case, right? Because if you're wearing a pink hat that's shaped a certain way and you're going through a neighborhood, or even like you were saying, that might be more practical, Eric, with like Biden 2020, and wear it out a bit so it looks like you've worn it all the time.
Right.
And then burn it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. use it to change your brakes or something. Grease it, whatever.
Yeah, check your oil, wipe it on the.
Right.
Yeah. So.
I still want one of those Madam President Newsweek episodes, like magazines that they printed ahead of time when they thought she was gonna win. You never saw that? Yeah, that shit's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's good to.
But yeah, so that was one of my honorable mentions, was like disguises like that for because we're all looking at sort of civil unrest and anger directed at the other side as being one of the primary risks for the next few months. So
It's kind of odd because they're so, abstract with their physicality left and right. I mean, if you look at an
Mhm.
individual and they're neutral with how they look, short hair, reasonably dressed, blah, 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 blah,
Mhm.
and you throw a Biden shirt on them, then you're going to think, okay, this guy's probably left. Or you throw a Trump
Right.
shirt or a MAGA hat, and it's right? So I don't think it's going to work so much if you're, an obese woman with really short hair and it's dyed pink.
Short blue hair, and you're like,
Yeah, short blue
Trump
hair,
support.
right? And she's a Trump supporter. So
That's
that's
funny.
definitely a component. Speaking of left and right, out of curiosity, Morgan, you're out in the we'll just say the desert areas, from what I
Mhm.
recall.
Mhm.
Most of the people out there you don't interact with many people out there from what
I
my
do.
last discussion. Oh, you
Mhm.
do? Okay.
Oh
But
yeah.
most tend to be on the right side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty country, so it's pretty right leaning. But it's pretty funny actually. We go up into the mountains a lot, and so there are these two houses right before you get into the forest. One is outfitted in Trump signs and flags. Right across from it, outfitted in Biden flags and signs and everything. They are feuding, and it's
The
amazing.
Hatfields and
I'm like,
McCoys, and
this
these
is America right here.
cannons are gonna stick out the windows and just blast at each other from
That's
across the
exactly what
street.
my husband said. I'm like, they're feuding. They probably come out and stare at each other every day.
Right.
And
Just
go,
like
Trump, Biden, Trump, Biden. Yeah,
oh
but that
man,
is great. It's great to see that stuff,
it is
That's
funny.
but
Well,
yeah, mostly right leaning, but there's people from all over. It's like all the people from California who go to Arizona or Texas, and they take their beliefs and things with them, and so it's not necessarily, it's more right leaning for sure though. Yeah.
And here's the funny thing, and I think this is why I would be cautious in the States. There was a gentleman that was shot, and me and Eric were talking about a couple weeks ago. That was a Trump supporter. He was at a Trump rally, and it was a BLM, the anti-Trump guy that shot him in the streets just for the belief, just because you support it as a specific political ideology, which I'm still trying to. I don't know about you guys, but I'm still trying to process that. I mean, like, what? It's 2020. What kind of asinine world do we live in where because I don't like what you believe, I'm going to take threatening action towards you to the point of, aggravated assault or death.
yeah, it's wild.
I just saw a tweet of a guy who wrote an article. I think
I was just
what
gonna
I'm
reference
talking
that
about.
one, I think.
He's so brave, man. He wrote this article where he's gonna disown his father because he believes in Trump, and he thinks
Yeah.
he's just like this martyr of this
Right.
wonderful person. My father believes in Trump, and I just can't stand him
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm not going to let him around the grandkids anymore because he thinks the wrong thing. Yeah. And I've seen a disturbing number of those things where they're like, I'm cutting my family members out of my life because they won't change their views on Trump and stuff like that.
What the hell's wrong with
It's
people?
just pathetic. Yeah.
My mom and I vehemently disagree on basically all politics, but never once did the discussion come up like, "You're not my mom anymore. You're not my daughter."
Right.
That's just
It's so
ridiculous.
ridiculous. Yeah.
I even have friends who we disagree on politics with, and we're not like, I can't be friends with you anymore. Like, get over it. It's really not the biggest thing in our lives. It's just not. I mean, there's a
Right.
lot of things that can, affect our lives, of course, and through our voting and whatever, but it's not the only thing that's going on, and it's
Crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's
It's
something so
unfortunate.
trivial is separating families.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it just shows the kind of vitriol that's out there and is being promoted, basically. It's unfortunate.
So maybe we should sum up. What do you think your favorite points were with the top 5 things you can do pre-election? I kind of did post pre-election, pre-Trump,
Right.
2020. What do you think would be the number one? Because you in your Eric, your video, you were like, well, no particular order.
Right.
Morgan, I can't recall if that was the case with you, but if for the audience here just tuning in, what do you think that would be the best prep pre?
I think I would have to say obviously the basics and stuff are super important, but specifically for the election, I think to get your some level of self-defense capability squared away, I think would be
Yeah,
the most for me.
that's funny that you both went in that direction too with sort of the self-defense.
Yeah.
What about you, Morgan? Or at least Morgan mentioned it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to say, the self-defense. There's no better time than now. I mean, how can you see what's going on in this country and just still be like, yeah, everything's fine, no
Right.
worries. Like, I
So
mean, sure, nothing may have happened to you, and that's fantastic. That's great. But that doesn't mean that, you know, it won't. And we even need to really up that defense a lot.
Yeah.
is this because both of you feel there's a like civil unrest is inevitable as a result of the election?
I mean,
Is
it's
that why?
happening now. It's happening now, and we're seeing become more widespread throughout the country and more like random. Before, for the past few months, if you stayed away from these city centers where this stuff was really popping off, you could sort of be pretty sure that you weren't going to have to deal with anything too crazy, or at least the odds were a lot lower. But now we're seeing people getting like hit in the head with bricks from random spot, getting sitting in a diner, getting screamed at in cities all over the country, and just all sorts of stuff happening totally unexpectedly in a lot wider of an area, to where you just can't any longer count on being able to go about your business and not have this stuff just randomly happen to you.
Yeah.
I saw a woman who was I think they were just protesting. There was no rioting or anything, but she went up to somebody and he was just filming the protest, them walking by or whatever. And she just starts screaming at him. And he's just
Yeah.
still, all he's doing, literally sitting there at the table at a restaurant and just filming. And she stops him. Why are you filming this?
Right.
Screaming at him for literally doing nothing but just holding his phone and filming. And it's like, this is literally what's setting people off. If that is going to set somebody off, the election for not, whoever's not going to, win, who is going to be insanity. If people riot because their favorite football team doesn't win, okay?
Exactly.
Or does win,
Or
like I was
does,
saying,
right?
that's why I was saying on the past few weeks that we're gonna see that's no matter what. Even if Trump somehow, or if Biden somehow manages to win, then we're gonna see just as ugly stuff go down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's nothing that says supporting your team, by flipping a car over, lighting it on fire. What do you think Trump should? What do you think Trump should do? So let's assume Trump wins. I know that's what Eric believes, and not too sure what Morgan believes. And it's November 4th, and it's a rocky night because let's just say the votes came in late. November 4th, things go haywire. Things get a little funny. Lots of fires. More cities are
you think
popping up
what
on the
should
map.
he do? Yeah, I mean
Sure.
it
How should they
depends.
react to the massive?
I think to some level you have to use federal law enforcement or National Guard to kind of quell things if it's really getting that bad. I mean, the whole point of having government is to take care of things that the people can't do for themselves. If you look at it from like a pure perspective. So if someone I think individual self-defense is obviously everyone's responsibility, but if there's literally mobs or armies of people ransacking a city, I think the government has a duty to do something about it. Exactly what should be done. I don't necessarily think that would make the overall situation any better, but that can't be. I really don't like the perspective of, oh, we should just let them run amok to show how crazy they are, and then it makes them look right. No, you have to stop these people from destroying the frigging country at some point. So it
Where do you
depends on
think
how bad it
that?
gets.
Yeah, that's a good question, Morgan. Where do you think that line in the sand is?
I
And
mean,
Trump hasn't
yeah,
called
that's just
isn't called
that's just
National Guard yet, but people are starting to, things are getting out of hand a little bit. Where's that point where he says, okay, we need to take over?
I mean, that's just kind of it, though. Like, if we look at the protests and the riots that have already been happening, where's the line been there? I haven't
Right.
really seen many lines
They
been
already let
drawn.
them burn down and take over police stations, literally.
So I don't know. I don't really have faith that anything's gonna happen. I mean, maybe it'll be like a month or two later. I mean, really, like I can't. I don't know. What is that? How far does it gotta go?
At that point, there's no easy answer, and there's nothing that's just going to magically fix it.
No.
You just get to decide what type of problems you have to deal with.
That's
Yeah.
that's a good point. I don't know either. I'm just throwing it out there hypothetically, Eric. It's a good point. They literally burned down a police station for me. Well, you know what? I think for me personally, there's the line there. So
Right.
for that city, with no, you can't allow that to happen, I think, because then maybe other people will see that as it sets a precedence. That, oh, they burn down the police station there, we can burn it down here. It's,
It
And
already
to some
has
extent,
a
right?
precedent.
And like the people, normal people, are paying taxes, significant portion of their income, following all the rules, so that supposedly these entities are there to do something when major thing happens, and when they're just gonna, nail us over every little tiny infraction over the years, and then just totally stand back when we actually need them to do something, then that's where people are just gonna get sick of it,
But
And
if
you
you're
might
not
see,
wearing
yeah,
listen, if you're not wearing a mask in the middle of
right,
nowhere while you're
yeah.
hiking, okay, don't even. The National Guard's gonna come down on you.
Right. If you're paddleboarding by yourself without a mask, they'll make sure the cops take care of that. But when you're literally throwing Molotov cocktails at the police station, then they'll just stand there and watch.
Yeah.
insanity.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Watching, it's very entertaining as a Canadian. Just
I'm
watching
Yeah.
this
glad we entertain you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Gregory Thompson, what do you think? This question from one of the viewers here. What do you
Mhm.
think the chances are that Trump doesn't accept defeat? This is a great question. I've thought about it too. Doesn't accept defeat even if he loses the election. There's
Yeah.
speculation he's gonna, get his armed guard personnel and like lock himself in the White House.
Right. Yeah. I really don't see that being a thing. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, it would have if he had some sort of concrete evidence that there was fraud. I'm not sure what he would or should do in that situation. But I really don't think it's a chance that he'll just petulantly be like, no, I lost, I'm not leaving. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not going to happen.
No, that's not gonna
He
happen.
just isn't the maniac that people think he is,
No.
you know?
So he'll just walk out. That's it. Done. Biden
Yeah.
take over.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Just like every other president.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I mean, the guy's what, like in his 80s now? And
He's 70s. Yeah, he's
seven.
not,
Okay.
He'll
he's not
probably
80
be
yet.
rolled in, so it'll be fine.
I mean,
Yeah.
wow. Where's the point where you want to just lay on the beach and relax?
That's what I always say, but when you're that type of person, you just go, go, go.
Go right to the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, that would be fine. That would be all fine and dandy if he were still there. But
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not.
I don't know. It's just
Yeah, I don't think he's all there necessarily. As much as, well, Biden is definitely not there. I mean,
No.
I don't understand how this guy he's the number one candidate. I'm very.
It's insane. It makes no sense. And especially because there's nothing specific about Biden that they needed it to be him. They could have chosen any, like even, I think it's just that of the people that had the popularity that they thought this was the group that might, one of them might be the nomination. He was the party guy just going to do whatever the hell they say kind of thing. They already owned him 100%. And to them, that's more important than actually, winning. And I think in their brains, they still think that just everyone in the world hates Trump and that they don't know how or why he won. So they're not ready, the first time. So they're not actually ready to deal with either that, or the core of the party and that group knows that he's not going to win and he's some sort of sacrificial lamb, because there's been some really bizarre choices that they've made for his campaign to where they're just like refusing to do basic campaigning. Like someone said that like they were like, what's your ground game, like what are you doing for your ground game in Michigan and stuff, and they're like, well, define what you mean by ground game. And they're like, what do you mean? You don't even know like this basic stuff on how to run a campaign. And then so it's like they just gave him a bunch of, like, I think it was Jack Posobiec on Twitter was saying that it seems like the whole campaign is just being run by interns and they've just written it off and are sort of like just hoping that they can save somebody like Michelle Obama or AOC or something for next time, and they didn't want to waste them this time when it's in such a bad state.
Okay, so the
That
motivation
makes sense. It's possible.
It's a write-off. It's a write-off
Right.
as it is. So just let it go, and
we'll use somebody who's, if he loses, he's already done anyway. It doesn't hurt anyone to have Biden lose, and that's why someone like Harris, who's totally unlikable, wasn't even like second or third or fourth place, and she got like didn't get any delegates, right? Didn't she not even get a single delegate as running through the primary? Now and she's super unlikable.
nobody
Totally
likes
bizarre.
her.
Yes, totally bizarre decision making on their part. So
really weird. Really weird.
It's really hard to tell what's going on.
What don't you like about her, Morgan?
Let's see. She's totally fake. She has every time she speaks, I mean, she just doesn't she has no actual platform. She has no and when she does, it's I don't know how to describe it.
If like, okay, I'll put
She's
it.
definitely a fraud, but one of the things I mean, it's funny because in this era of defund the police and um, people of color and all this, they pick an old white guy and literally a prosecutor who laughed about putting people in prison for minor crime, like black people specifically in prison for minor crimes and stuff, and then laughed about smoking marijuana herself after like keeping people and trying to get people, like she's blocked people who have been proven innocent, like blocked them from getting out and stuff on like procedural grounds and like weird, horrible, disgusting stuff like that, and she's just a fraud politician like everyone else.
Don't know much. I heard about the laughing at the marijuana. Don't know much about her.
Yeah.
But I thought it was weird how people push this narrative that it wasn't the best person to be the vice presidential. This isn't the best candidate for the job. This is a black,
Right.
This is a woman.
Identity politics.
Identity, exactly, which is weird to me because, if I got to sail across the ocean, I want the best person to do that job. And if I was to be a white guy in his 60s with gray hair, then that's what it is,
Right.
That's how I feel about every job ever.
Same here.
It's the person who's right for the job. I don't care what race, religion you are. It doesn't matter, or gender or whatever. Just, are you the right person for this job? Then fantastic. You're the right person for this job.
They think it does matter.
Yeah.
They think it matters more than actually doing the job.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that Hillary lost is because she's just, nobody likes her.
Right.
Democrats love her because she's a woman, I guess. Anyway, and so otherwise, they're just trying to build her up because she was a woman trying to run for president, which is great and all, but she's just not, the person that I would want as a president. And so just wasn't the right person for the job. It doesn't mean I don't like her because she's a woman. She wasn't the right person for the job, period. That's it. So.
Very true. Yeah, it's crazy, but that's where we're at. So it's interesting to see how it'll turn out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have memes? Not to change the subject. I only have a couple.
I was supposed to come up with memes.
Yeah, always.
Tell me this.
Sorry, or memes. Just you don't have to. It's just you always try to have. Did you get any this time, Shay?
Dude, I'm like, no.
I've got like 4. I've got like 4.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and share mine because
all right. Well, Lord Humongous has got some memes. If you're just joining us, this is the Prepper Trifecta. We are joined by Morgan, not Megan, from Rogue Preparedness. Eric is going to put her channel in the description, or just Google Rogue Preparedness.
I'll put it in the description.
And she was awesome to make a video. I guess it was your last video on 5 pre-election preps. And every week at this time, we featured the craziest memes. Yeah. And I've given up because Eric's are so good.
Oh yeah,
I don't
right.
present any anymore.
All right, so here I'll see if I can.
I've been busy. I didn't get into this week.
All right, so here we go. We have when they defund the police and you have to start shooting intruders. Remember to call 811 before you dig. It's the law. That's like the to make sure there's no gas lines and stuff you have to call.
Good one.
Right, and then you have Aunt Jemima freaking out, Land O'Lakes Butter freaking out, pedophile dancing movie, snoozing.
Oh no, oh, that's so wrong.
So true though.
He's sleeping, that one.
Yeah, just sleeping. And then we have, this is actually a picture of my time in the military. It's not really a meme so much.
Right.
A painting of it. I mean, it's a little bit, they took some liberties because I never made it to captain here. I was only a lieutenant, but other than that, it's pretty spot on.
Good stuff.
This is pretty much what happened.
They look like they're gonna take you to
yeah.
They're
and here it says, back in 2019, I paid 13 cents a round for 9mm. It's like, sure you did, Grandma. Let's get you back to bed. So sad. Weird, it's true.
I miss it.
Yeah, and then we have, if you don't agree with every single facet of my worldview, you're my mortal enemy. So then he sneaks up and says, your terms are acceptable. bring it on. And that's pretty much all I got.
Good stuff.
Good Joe.
Oh, still my only memes this time.
You seem like actually disappointed. Like I only got 5. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
"Dude,
I'm
I got
happy with that.
0."
Someone says, "Does Moran have a channel?" I think he meant Morgan. Yes, she does. It's Rogue Preparedness on YouTube. So just Google that, and it'll be there. You'll find it.
I'm gonna put the channel in the comments right now.
Good.
In a second.
Oh, thanks.
I'm gonna Google it.
So is there anything else on our list that we had vastly different or the same? I had fire extinguishers, body armor, cash, specialty ammo like self-defense ammo, things like
yeah,
that.
that took me off guard. The fire extinguishers. But it's funny too, because I've always been the proponents or the mindset that everybody has this. Most preppers that I know say, "Well, I'm bugging in, I'm bugging in, I'm bugging in," and it's usually because they don't have anywhere else to go. Right. They don't really have the resources spread out, and I get that. It's very difficult to do that, and that's one thing that always pops in my brain is you kind of need to, or at least have a plan to do it in the future, because guess what? Fire. You're done. It doesn't matter. All your resources, everything you purchased.
Yeah. It's really weird the way bugging out is sort of dealt with in the prepping community. I've made some videos on this before where it's seen as like a choice that you make ahead of time. Like I'm either bugging out when something happens or I'm bugging in, and other people are stupid. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. To me, bugging in is a technique that you would use. Like say you're in a fight, it's like ducking or something like that, as an example I've used before. You're like, what are you gonna do when someone attacks you? Oh, I'm gonna duck. They're like, well, what if they're kicking you instead of punching you? Like, no, you duck. When someone attacks you, you duck. And you're like, no, if they're swinging at my head, I'm going to duck. If they're swinging at my feet, I might jump. You know, if there's 6 of them, I might run away. Like it's one technique that I use depending on what's going on. And the people who are like, you're so stupid to bug out. You never bug out. And like, what if there's a nuclear mushroom cloud half a mile away? You're just going to hunker down in your place instead of getting the fuck out of there? Or a raging inferno, you know, this sweeping through your entire state. Like, no, you're going to leave. And on the other side, you don't just automatically leave and run out into the woods based on what's happening. That can be just as dumb. So to totally write either off or to be totally unprepared to do either is a mistake. And I think it should be totally based on what's going on, your particular situation and your resources and all that stuff.
That's a really, really, really good analogy. And we just went from PG-13 to restricted because I think
drop that bomb. Sorry, can't help it.
Well, it's your channel. It's all good. It's all good. And for those listening, this is Che from Prepper Logic. You'll see me in the comments. I've just placed a link to, it says Armed Rogue videos. What does that mean?
Oh, yeah.
That was your original name, right?
Yes. I used to go by a different name. It's funny, Prepper Potpourri. We've known each other pretty much since the start of my channel, I think. And she still calls me Armed Rogue occasionally. And I'm like, ah. Yes, she and like a couple other people will say, oh, yeah, an Armed Rogue. And I'll be like, I let it slide, whatever. I think
better,
you can
better than Megan, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. You guys are going to let that go, are you?
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting thing about the bugging and bugging out is it's totally situationally dependent. So
I
don't even see how that's a controversial stance on it.
I've heard a lot of people just flat out say I'm never going to bug out because it's something's not going to happen here where I'm going to have to bug out or this.
Right. So if it's Red Dawn and the Chinese army is like marching towards your house, you're just gonna be nope, I'm staying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like I understand certain circumstances, like I don't have a vehicle to bug out or something, or whatever. Well, you can make arrangements. That's what preparedness is about. Make arrangements, do what you're gonna do. But like it's just those people who are just flat out, I'm never even gonna have a bug out plan, even if you think you'll never use it. Like I live out in the middle of nowhere, and I still have a bug out plan because. Things can still happen here, very much so. And
you could find out there's going to be a meteor strike, in your area or whatever. Like it doesn't matter, but like just being totally unprepared for something as simple as moving from the area where you currently are is not being very prepared.
Yeah.
Even at the very least, we mentally accept that as a possibility. That's what's so bizarre. Is like you said, if you don't have a car, to realize that like I'm going to try my damnedest to be able to stay here because it'll be very difficult to me to leave. It's a totally different mindset than I'm never leaving. I'm staying here. Because then you haven't even like just emotionally dealt with the possibility, which is really bizarre.
That's a good way to put it. And I think that showcases or magnifies some of the differences and contrasts we have as preppers. in the community. In that there are some that are there's a wide variety or diversity. And there's some that are they're very limited or focused in one area. And so forget about the bug in, bug out, because another area is not to forget about it, but another area that I've seen with preppers is they prep like they're narrow-minded with this why they prep. So it's just
exactly.
I'm prepping for this specific disaster. Forget smoke alarms and changing the battery every 6 months and all the other types of disasters that could happen. I'm focusing this in this particular area.
Yeah, perfectly put. They're like you can tell that with the way they talk about it. Basically, if you're like, well, if you have to bug out, and you're like, why would you have to bug out when the EMP hits? And you're like, who said we were talking about EMP? You know what I mean? Like they're so focused on like their vision for shit hit the fan, and they're not even really into preparedness. They're planning for some specific event that, for whatever reason, they feel like is just absolutely going to happen.
Right.
And it kind of goes the other way. Well, it kind of goes into that, if people, I heard countless times of people saying, I never saw a pandemic coming.
Right.
And I don't know, like any prepper that didn't talk about pandemics, I talked about it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we mentioned that as the one when we would have our Trifectas, over the past year or two, we've mentioned that as one of the top 3 or 5 ways that there could actually be a major shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
In modern times would be a pandemic. So that would be bizarre to not even consider that.
Yeah, a lot of people have told me that, and they just, and now I think that a lot of people didn't think about the lockdowns and things, but I think that caught a lot of us off guard. But still,
yeah, but still, I mean, not like having to bug in or whatever. It's a feature of so many potential disaster scenarios that I mean, like if you're preparing for even a few of them, that is something that you should be pretty likely or likely to experience, is just having to stay in place just as likely as having to leave for some reason. Like those are pretty much the 2 scenarios: is stuck in one place without any resources, or something crazy is happening and I need to get the hell out. Those are like the 2 major categories of preparedness, I would say.
Exactly. That's a really, really good way to put it. And it's, you're out in the woods or in an urban environment, you need to MacGyver, create your own resources, do what you need to survive. Yeah. I just got a set of 3 Uniden 2-way radios. Any thoughts? This comes from South Florida, DCL.
I know Morgan's way more up to speed on the ham than I am.
I got my hand I mean, I'm not a big Uniden guy personally, but go for it.
Yeah, what do you think? No, about this guy. He said, what do you think about his 3 Uniden 2-way radios? Any thoughts? Pretty open-ended. What do you think of the 2 Uniden 2-way radios?
Which is it? Which radio is it?
It's the brand's Uniden, and if we're talking, if it's just the regular like family radio,
walkie-talkie type.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, my experience has been they'll glorify, say, oh, it's good for 30 miles, good for 170 miles. What they don't tell you is it's like the absolute perfect conditions.
Line of sight on a cool ocean night between 2 boats out in the middle with no other interference of signals. Yeah. But I mean, across a homestead or between 2 vehicles and some sort of, impromptu convoy, things like that can work fairly well.
So yeah, I mean, that it kind of depends on which radios you got. I mean, everybody radio will be a little different. Some just do GMRS, some do ham, some will do CB. So Uniden, I think, makes a lot of walkie-talkies and GMRS, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so GMRS is fine. It like Eric's saying, I mean, you really got to get that real good line of sight, with GMRS or with any radio really. And so I would really test it hard in your area, wherever you're planning on using it. Really test it hard. I mean, any obstruction will make a difference, and getting that antenna as high as possible will make a huge difference. And as an example, we were testing a radio the other day, and we have a roof rack on top of our vehicle, and I put the antenna in kind of inside the roof rack, not inside, but the antenna was being blocked by that one little metal bar, and it was getting bad reception. I put it on top. Oh, plus it was metal. That didn't help either. But I put it on top of on the very, very top of the roof rack. Beautiful, perfect reception. So, I mean, awesome. Even that little tiny bit of obstruction can make a big difference. But yeah, if you got a really good line of sight, great. But keep in mind in cities, maybe a few miles. It really depends.
I think you'd be lucky to get a mile in most major metro areas with those
Yeah,
cheaper ones. I mean, like I've used some of the little ones like that, and even in like a warehouse or something, you're lucky to get all the way across the building. You know what I
there's a lot
mean?
of obstructions in those
Yeah,
warehouses.
and like I said, electric interference, and
Yeah.
also keep in mind that even if your radios are functioning flawless, test the channels you want to use because there might be local other entities using those channels, and
Hmm.
have a backup channel that everyone knows what it is, so you don't have to be like go to channel 7 now. But if you get corrupted or someone's listening in, you can say go to the backup channel, and
Right.
that way only your friends know what it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's websites. I don't know if it's connected to the States or not. It's radioreference.com, and it's basically an encyclopedia of various frequencies, UHF, VHF, specific to, like, we'll say the power company or the waterworks utility,
Mhm.
and you can actually tap in and listen to what they're saying. But long and the short of it, if I didn't have my ham license and I was watching this and thinking, okay, well, what do I do? Our unit in radio is good. It's a very generic, like, large question. That's like saying, is Toyota good, or
Yeah.
is
yeah, it's going to
XYZ good?
depend a lot on what you're trying to
There's
do
so many
with it.
factors. Yeah, yeah. If it was me, I would look at the Baofangs. My understanding is they have the newer Baofangs. I don't think they're UV5Rs anymore. They have more power. They offer more power. I think it was like a 2 to 5 watt was the original. Now it's up to 7 watt, or
And
maybe
they're
even ten
still
watt.
pretty cheap,
But
aren't they? Like 50, $60 a set or something, or a
super cheap.
handheld.
They're
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
$35.
Wow, cool.
a lot of
Yeah.
extensions, collapsible antennas, telescopic antennas. Mind you,
Mhm.
people will be able to tap into your frequency, but
Mhm.
Right. Like I
the
was saying.
power that you have and the fact that you can tap into UHF, VHF frequencies, repeaters, and whatnot is just gives
And
you
you're
it
not
gives
gonna,
you options.
yeah. And if you do, I mean, like I said, come up with not just a way to do it, but a basic communication plan is the alternating frequencies. And even a rudimentary code of some kind is gonna prevent most people from knowing what you're up to. I mean, like you're not gonna be hopefully facing
Yeah,
a foreign military or something, but just some random person with another walkie-talkie if you have even a basic code that you can use to
I'm
communicate
going to
well.
go to my cache at these coordinates. I'll see
Right.
you there.
Right. Yeah. Something a little better than that. Right.
Perfect.
But just alternate words for things, make
Yeah.
it simple.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no best radio, I don't think. I like, just test it out for whatever purposes you want. If you want it, for just around the farm, fantastic. If you want it to reach across the city, well, you may need some ham with repeaters and things like that. You just may want to change things up a little bit. Don't quote me. I think Uniden is just walkie-talkie and GMRS, but I don't know. They may have some ham radios. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't know. You know
I'm
a lot more about it than I do.
sure.
Yeah.
And to compliment what Morgan said, and what Eric, with respect to what Eric suggested, is there's a lot of different things you can do to be creative with certain specific individuals. So I could say, you know, Victor Alpha, blah 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 blah. I'll do my call sign, talk to Eric, and Eric will say, well, how's the weather over there? And I could say, well, it's getting a little cold or whatever. And what could mean is something completely different under the context of nothing to do with weather, but the context of some very real life scenario. Maybe I'm doing some sort of bartering, or there's some sort of situation that is uh, ensuing at the time. So it's a secretive way to communicate by using certain phrases or code words, so to speak.
Hmm.
Which
Yeah.
it's one thing. Okay, let's just say it's one thing to have communications in radios. It's another thing to communicate through those radios, because theoretically everybody can hear you unless you're in a digital encrypted system. But most preppers are not going
I
to
don't
be.
know.
No.
People should look into the how the military communicated during wartime. Fascinating stuff. They had all sorts of different codes. They enlisted Navajo language to throw people off, like just all sorts of really very interesting, smart stuff. So really look into that stuff, and
What
not just
stands
for
out the most for you with those communications? I remember the Navajo. They use their language
Yeah, definitely the Navajo really stood out to me. I thought that was just really smart because the Navajo language in general, even at that time, was pretty much gone. And now it's like almost non-existent. There's
Mhm.
like maybe a couple of people in the whole world that know how to speak it. And so at that time, it was just really smart because, you know, who's going to understand this crazy language that at the time still only like a handful of people knew. So
Right. And even then, even within the language, they had a code. Like they would call
yeah,
a tank would be a buffalo or something like that. So even if you knew the language, which no one did, but even if you somehow recognized these repeating words, you still wouldn't necessarily know what the hell they were talking about.
That
exactly.
reminds me, there was a Doomsday Prepper episode with a husband-wife team, and they practiced. They suggested it was a rare language, but I later found out it was very common. It was like Thailand.
They're like
Sorry,
pig Latin.
Pig
En
Latin.
way, ooh yay, et gay, ute.
And their approach was, we could speak this language in front of other people, so that they basically wouldn't understand. Um, which I
It's
thought was
cool.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. But to me, you're you're giving up that there's a secret communication. So if
Right.
me and Morgan were to be like, well,
Yeah. Right.
Eric could be like, okay, something's going on here.
Right.
Yeah.
The two people start speaking in another language, as opposed to being
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're probably going to head to our grandma's house after this. And that means something else to them. You wouldn't even know that you were communicating. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
grandma's house. You guys share grandma. Wonderful.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
Or like 2 bags of rice. And, like that means something else.
Yeah. I get it.
Which could be effective under certain circumstances. But I
Right.
would take it a step further and maybe have certain body language. So you could do something like, like
Like a baseball catcher.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
in theory, if you were quick enough, you could get away with it. So you could communicate with other people.
Especially if someone's hidden or
Sure.
far away.
There's all sorts of different types of alternate communication that go down to. I had said something in a video about making paracord into knots and like leaving it around or whatever.
Right.
The normal person would just be like, "Oh, that's cool," But if
Stacked
you,
rocks and things on trails, different types of.
right, yeah,
Yeah, that's actually super cool. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Morgan, where would you like to take the rest of the show? The floor is yours.
Few minutes left. Anything you want to talk about? I'm going to scan real briefly for questions. Haven't had too many tonight.
Well, I don't know.
Nothing. You got nothing?
I don't know.
Well, while you're thinking about it, William McCaslin. I've never seen the movie. The Navajo. There's a movie.
Code Talkers.
Code
Yeah.
Talkers.
Yeah, I have seen. I think what the hell is his name? I don't remember. Why am I blanking?
I'll look it up.
The guy from Con Air and what the hell's his name?
Con Air.
Rock, the Con Air and the Rock and all that.
No,
I can't remember his name.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage. Jeez. Yeah,
he was a
Nicolas.
Code Talker?
Wasn't he?
Wait, it's called Code Talker, right?
Right, Code Talkers.
Talker.
And I'm almost sure it had Nicolas Cage in it. Prove me wrong.
I'm trying to look it up.
IMDb. Wind Talkers, is that it? Wind Talkers?
No, I thought it was Code Talker. Code
I think it was
Talker
Code Talkers,
movie.
too.
There we go.
There was a movie with Nicolas Cage too, and
Wind? Really? Maybe it was Wind Talkers.
Yeah, I think Kevin R was correct. It's Wind Talkers.
Oh, Nicolas Cage, you're right.
wow.
Because
Okay.
he was like deaf in one ear or something in the movie. Something weird was going on.
That's right. Yeah. Then he had the hearing test, and his wife was.
He
his
cheated
girlfriend
it.
was, like,
Yeah,
helping him out,
exactly. Right, giving him some signals or whatever.
Get him signals.
Yeah, that's cool. I need to see that.
That's right. His job, or his mission, was to escort, and take care
Babysit the
of
Code
these-
Talker. Yeah.
Babysit the Code Talkers.
Yep, Reverend Righteous.
Sure.
What's up, bro? It's Wind Talker. Correct. I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
My movie knowledge is being forced from my brain by other more useful things. What a waste.
Dang it.
That would. You know what? There's somebody here saying the Rolds WROL gang will be named Pig Latin Boys. I'm going to name my gang the Pig Latin Boys.
Nice.
And I'm just thinking that would be a great topic for some time. Top 3. I should do this for other, prepper videos. Prepper guys.
Don't give it away. Other people are gonna do it.
Yeah, exactly. Now we have to keep it
They-
secret to
yeah.
see if it's really
maybe we need to come up with a code for the next topic video, right?
right. Yeah, our own code.
Top 5, yeah.
Right.
I think this would be cool to hear from other preppers. Their top 5. I was thinking 3. Top 3 doomsday movies or shows of all time.
Yeah.
What did you like? What grabs you, and why do you like it? You can't just say, okay, The Road. I would
What
say,
did you like about it and everything?
what did you like about it? How does it relate to preparedness in a practical manner? So there you go, City Prepper. Make that video for Friday.
Whoops, you let it
Release it a day
out.
before we release ours on Saturday. Yeah.
All right.
Morgan, what would be a good topic? Give us a top 5. Put me on the spot here.
For the
Top
next week.
5.
It could be top 3, top 10.
Could be
Top 10's a little much.
Related
but
to current times somehow,
Yeah.
related to the coronavirus, related to Trump, or
Let me pull out my list of video ideas. I have like.
go ahead and do the
Oh, you have a potential topic
yeah.
spreadsheet. I have one on my computer that I never look at other than to add topics, but I never actually go there to use them because I'm always like, I'll make a video about this. And then when I think of 50, I'll add them there, but I never really go back to look. That's weird.
I'm like the Eric approach, right? Multiple Word documents with different words.
Little things, sticky notes everywhere with the list on.
Metaphorical sticky notes.
Yeah. But I could have, this whole time, I could have just been looking at other people's live streams.
Yeah, this whole time, right? I just look at the, City Prepper, right? These other preppers, and just, they did a video on that. Boom! I'm gonna do the same goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Bonus points though for technically beating us to it.
Yeah.
Even though we talked about it, that we
should say Saturday, but
right?
Really do it on Thursday. Yeah.
Got you, motherfucker. Who's copying who now?
Exactly.
Yes, it's like so Saturday when our video comes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's an underrated
top 5.
Yeah, top 5. An underrated. Someone said The Postman. Underrated apocalypse movie is Waterworld. The movie's so over the top, it's hilarious.
Waterworld.
It's
Kevin Costner. Yeah. The
Put
bad guy
title
is Dennis Hopper, and he's like on an oil rig, and they all smoke. They're called the smokers. Because not only do they smoke, but they burn oil as opposed to use wind. It's super campy, and apparently like bankrupted the studio.
Yeah,
it is enjoyable.
It's a mega multi-million-dollar movie.
It's a huge flop. Yeah.
Didn't he have like gills? I don't.
Yeah, he was a mutant. He was a mutant, and he had gills.
Yeah, he like go down.
And web toes or something.
Did you see that movie, Morgan?
No, I'm looking it up.
You gotta watch it.
When you search up Waterworld, it comes up with the poster, and then it just comes up with a bunch of pictures of water worlds, water parks. There's nothing else about it besides that.
This isn't anything. It was an unusual movie, and his character too, Kevin Costner, he was kind of an asshole in that movie.
Right.
Like his character just not give a
So.
So.
But yeah, Postman is pretty good too. That was also Kevin Costner.
He actually was. He was in a movie recently. Did you see Robin Hood? And I know this is
the Men or Prince of Thieves back in the day.
No, it wasn't.
That was Kevin Costner.
Sorry, which one?
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in the '90s. That was Kevin.
Yeah,
Costner.
yeah. It was like the serious Robin Hood.
Like the R-rated one, and everyone was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. There was a scene where he didn't show his ass in the water, like the waterfalls, and that was the big thing. He didn't show his ass. So I watched this movie.
You always got to get the butt in the moonbeam scene.
Got to get the butt. It's like, why would a guy like get a stunt double to show his ass? Who cares? The chicks will love it. All is good. So he did this other movie, and I think there was some sort of redemption. Long story short, because I'm sure Morgan's probably pulling her hair out.
No, I'm looking at Robin Hood. Apparently, there was one that came out in 2018.
Yeah, with the short kid from the Kingsman, it was horrible. It was hilariously bad. I
Oh,
actually have a movie podcast that I've done with my girlfriend before. And I think we talk about the Robin Hood movie. It's hilariously bad.
Let me just finish my 2 point. I gotta get this out.
sorry.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Sorry.
He does this great movie. I think it was Mr. Something, Mr. Brooks, where he plays
Yes.
this maniacal
It's like a serial killer.
serial killer. It's actually a really good movie. I got really into it. And then there's this scene where this is like 15 years after Robin Hood, where he shows his ass, and it's like it's really his ass, right? It's this old Kevin Costner scene, you know,
Old man ass.
old man ass, and it was like,
So
screw
what
you,
point
I didn't
is
do
it
it back
okay
then.
to show your what year should you stop showing your ass? I need to know. I'm getting up there.
All right.
I don't know. How does it look? I mean, you can't
It's pretty
just
damn
say.
good. It's pretty good.
Okay,
But I
well,
didn't know if
keep
there's
going.
an official cutoff, regardless of how much you squat. I don't
Mm-mm-mm.
know.
Keep showing it until somebody says, "Whoa."
So you start getting the negative feedback, drop down to 3 stars, then it's time to call it.
Yeah.
Morgan,
to
thank
know.
you for entertaining that. What's in your Rolodex there? What
Oh,
do you?
Oh yeah, we totally got off topic.
it should be something like the top 5 tips from the Great Depression. We can.
That's
get
good.
more something.
A lost prepping tech or lost survival techniques from the Great Depression.
There you go.
Yeah, well, not even Great Depression too. I mean, what about top 5 things we learned from the Spanish flu that we could apply to
Historical
Yep.
survival techniques, something like that.
There you go.
the big C, the big coronavirus, for sure.
Is that a thing still? Coronavirus?
Is it?
Depends on who you ask.
Well, it's I don't know what's happening in the States there, but we are definitely experiencing the start of what we'll call a second wave. I'm to be honest with you, I'm very mixed on it. Maybe we can get on this next week. It's not as severe as we think it is, or at least science is suggesting. And there's this big overreaction now with the governments and media and how they're reacting to it. So you can look at videos from 4 or 5 months ago with me and Eric, and it's just like the virus is like a 7 out of 10, like severe. This is
right,
and it just went down and down and down, and now we're dealing with this like really sort of a nuisance.
right.
There's something
And
out
it's
there.
all
Sure.
the rules about it. It's not even the virus itself.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because even early on, when I was anticipating this being a much bigger deal, I still wasn't ever really that personally worried about like dying from the virus. I was like, what is the country going to look like if 2, 3, 4, 5 million people die from this thing?
Yeah.
Everything's going to shut down. You're not going to be able to get food. And we saw quite a significant amount of those types of problems with a much less serious virus simply because of how everyone reacted to it. So it's almost like we were right about the things we should be preparing for, but it didn't even take a real serious pandemic to actually cause it. It just took people overreacting to what luckily turned out to be a fairly minor one.
Yeah. I wonder, somebody was talking about that it was being reduced to an outbreak. It wasn't a pandemic anymore, and it was being reduced to an outbreak. And I can't see anything that's corroborating that. I don't know who's saying that, who brought that out. But anyway, I do wonder though, like if they would ever make it such an announcement like that. Like they were projecting, like you were saying, 2 million people, dead.
Right.
It's not close.
Well, according to Joe Biden, like 200 million people have died since the start of his speech. It's one of his speeches, he actually says that. He's like, 200 million people have died since I started talking. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Actually, you sound like him. That's a good impression.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting, and I don't want to say entertaining. It's sort of not entertaining is the right word. It's interesting how we have a pandemic and how it sort of magnifies how governments have failed. We've all these nefarious people that are trying to manipulate information, and even through social media. Where if we got together as a species and we said, okay, we have to deal with this scientifically. These are the right things to do to alleviate it. and if we do this, then we're going to get through it. But there's all this emotional
Yeah.
back and forth, and all these rules, and all these um, very various facets of manipulation that are happening constantly. Where
Hmm.
you get your, where you getting your information from, and people. You can look at any topic on the coronavirus right now, and see people that oppose it and people that celebrate it. Um,
Yeah.
so
Very divided. Yeah.
very divided. Yeah.
Hmm.
Here's a question actually that I would be curious about. Are the wildfires affecting Canada also? Because I keep seeing maps and it seems like it pretty much stops butt cold at the US Canadian border. So I guess climate change doesn't affect you guys up there. But
Yeah.
interesting that even if the fires were started on this side of the border by whoever, why isn't it spreading into Canada? Do you have any?
Great question.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I
So it's
Maybe
don't.
not
this.
spreading?
I mean, as far as I know, I haven't heard anything about fires in Canada being an issue. Have
When
you,
did it
Che?
start? No, I was talking to somebody about something to do with the atmosphere and something like the sky and the horizon. A certain day, it looked a little, more red than usual, but
From
I
the
think it was
smoke,
about
yeah.
red. It's not like where I could smell smoke and be like, "Wow, is that from the states?" Um, but my understanding too was like the most pathetic reason with respect to like why it started. It was some sort of gender reveal party or
Yeah,
some
well,
Yeah.
nonsensical bullshit like that. And there's
yeah,
some sort of
Oh.
apparatus that, if it's blue or pink or some bullshit like that.
yeah.
Like
And it
something
was like
like,
an explosive they did in the middle of like a grassy field, and then it
what the,
just started this massive conflagration.
yeah.
It's so frustrating because people know that, oh, big explosion, fire, yes, gosh, couldn't come out of control. Like it's so frustrating. These people really ruin it for everybody. This is why I can't have a personal fire, during a
Right.
burn ban, because there has to be a
Yeah,
burn ban because people are ridiculous.
for legitimate
Don't know
reasons,
that
like boiling
explosion could
water,
cause fire.
like for boiling
Right.
water, cooking
Cooking or
food.
something.
No,
I mean,
like maybe he
usually you
wanted,
can
yeah,
still use a stove or something, but
yeah, maybe he wanted to get his message across. Be like, I'm a boy, I'm a man.
yeah,
Whoa, let's light this whole mother.
man child on the way.
And that would not have been an issue if it wasn't during an extremely dry season, in the middle of the summer. It
In a
wouldn't have been a
grassy
problem.
field.
Yeah, not in the middle of a grassy field, whatever. I mean, they could have chosen a million other ways to announce it, but they chose something that they knew was
Yeah,
already dangerous. They
talking about
knew. They couldn't
the,
have not known.
Here's another
especially
interesting one. We talked. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
no, no. It's well. I was just gonna say briefly, like the extremities of, you know, how fires can get started. It was like the most gross example. Like it was completely shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, there also was at least one, maybe two cases of confirmed arson, like Reverend Wright's just saying.
okay.
They had,
Yeah.
but they like arrested one guy and then like immediately released him. And there's a couple others that they've caught, and or at least one other that they caught and managed to put the fire out. But so some people are purposely starting fires as well.
Yeah, yeah. People
Yeah.
are stupid. People are ignorant, and people are. If it's not ignorance, then it's devious, or they've got some sort of vendetta with the world for whatever stupid
Yeah.
reason and committing crimes. And
The rate.
unfortunately, that's not going to change unless we put the hammer down. And I don't
So
think that.
anyway, yeah, exactly. But what I was gonna ask, sorry, I was gonna ask is someone said, what are the thoughts in Canada about the Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing? Is that something that even made news up there? And if so, how is it perceived?
What are the thoughts of Canada about the reaction to RBG? Sorry, RBG.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Supreme Court Justice.
Right. Well, like I said initially earlier in the video, I don't know much about the U.S. political system. My understanding was it was the highest court, and in
Right.
relation to that court where Kavanaugh was appointed, and that it was probably Ruth was probably Democratic, and they're going to go raise into a fit because they know that Trump can appoint somebody.
Yeah.
Not much, I don't talk to. What are the thoughts in Canada? You're asking
Yeah.
me. I don't talk to people, let alone U.S. Politics. So
Right.
I don't think people are thinking much about it. The concern right now for most the average Canadian individual is what's going on between if they've got kids, what's going on with the school boards, because different school boards are doing different things for their kids with masks based on different ages, and so many kids in a classroom, and so many kids on the bus. The rules change every day, and there's no consistency, and parents they're stuck. It's a difficult time because they need their kids in school, or they need them to get educated, and there's sort of I think there's a conflict there.
Yeah.
Especially if you can't afford daycare, or you can't afford to, if they stay home, then you have to stay home. There's, economic. There's a few different conflicts. That's 1,000 times more important than Ruth, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, just interesting to see what how it's perceived other places.
For me, the big shining light is the election. It really is. I mean, you're hearing the insanities, and it's unfortunate that I'm like becoming conditioned to, oh, there's another shooting, some BLM supporter shot a Trump guy, and like it's sad in some ways that it's just like normal to hear these. Oh, they took over a police station. Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, they burned this, so so it's early November. That's really going to that for me personally is what I'm observing.
Yeah, agreed. That's when it could get weird.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, we got a prepper quadfecta now.
Oh yeah. That's right. What do you have to say?
Hey.
Guess we all agree then.
Good thoughts, baby.
Yeah.
It's for bedtime.
Cool.
Cool.
That said, I think we're quarter after.
Yeah, we went a little long.
I think
I know it's especially later for you guys because I'm Pacific time, so it's not too bad. You're only an hour. Oh, you're Pacific too?
Well, until daylight savings.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know how far over you were. I thought maybe you're 1 hour off, but cool. Thanks again for joining us. And where can everybody find you, Morgan?
Just search Rogue Preparedness and I'll be there.
Cool. And I know you sell few. I have your Rogue Propellant here.
Hey.
You got some other cool stuff and the salve and a few other things. And of course, I'm at rulethewaysand.com, and you're on my channel now. Shay, how about you?
Prepper Logic. And I got to give another plug here in the chat window to Morgan. Thanks very much. She made a video too, just to recap. Top 5 things to do pre-election, pre-November 3rd Trump U.S. election. So thanks again, Morgan. Appreciate it. It was fun. We'll have to do it again sometime down the road. Always good to have a banter with the three of us here. It's cool. It's relaxed, and I always have a good time. So everybody have a great evening, and I'll let you final words, Morgan.
Always appreciate being on. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks for coming by. Thanks. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Bye.
Goodbye. Thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you next time.